Kulwahad. I am profoundly stirred, I am moved, I'm so happy to see what a great job Denis Villeneuve did with the first part of Dune. I'm praying it'll move as many people to read the book as Peter Jackson did with Lord of the Rings. Books plural, but I'll be happy if a lot of people just read the first book. Why? People who've followed my channel for a long time know that I've read that book so many times. I bring it up all the time. I say I've read it like 16 or 17 times. Probably not correct. I tried to think back over my life to each of the times that I've read it. At least 8 that I can think of. So it's probably 8 times that I read it. Once when I was around 10 or so, then again around 13, then again around 15, a couple times in my 20s, a couple times in my 30s, probably at the end of high school. Anyways, I love it. It's profoundly informed my life, the path that I've taken in life, the golden path. I am no Kwisatz Haderach. I am no shortening of the way. Sorry. I don't want to alienate people who haven't read the book. Please read the book. Please. Please. Enjoy the movie, love the movie, but also read the book. Why? Why? By the end of my academic career, I do not think I'll be going back for my PhD, but in my master's degree, I was shocked and dismayed to find that academia now is all about turning people into hyper-focused, monomaniacal, almost like human computers, but not in a good way, like dumb computers, like programs within computers that can only do one thing. So the Mentats in Dune, they're like human computers, yeah, but they can run many programs, and they can collate information across diverse fields. Frank Herbert seems to take it for granted in the Dune books that effective people of real value, people of power and consequence, have diverse intellectual interests and skill sets. The Bene Gesserit, they can fight. They understand psychology and the use of rhetoric and voice to such a level that they can make you do what they want you to do, as long as they understand you just enough to figure out, okay, I don't want to go like in depth with all these different things, but just understand, even just to understand the story of Dune, the book, you end up learning a lot about ecology, fencing, battle tactics, statecraft, economics. Because I read the book and loved it so many times, as I went into my first degree, I took a language and politics. Politics is arguably the main thing, but it is certainly not the only thing. And politics encompasses all those other things and so much more. At least effective politics does. So my first degree was politics. I took German as well. And I read Dune in German, so that's one of the times that I read it. And I was on the fencing team. Okay? There's that saying, Jack of all trades, master of none. I'm not saying I think people should become so diverse in their interests that ultimately they have Dunning-Kruger effect in all of those different interests, all those different skill sets. But at all times, human considerations should be incorporated into your skill sets. That diversity of thought should be there, and it shouldn't be abhorrent. But it is. It's taboo. By the time I got to my master's, I started hearing this over and over. James, you're spreading your net too wide. You gotta focus. Like, I am focusing on the topic of originally phenomenology, originally synesthesia. Yeah, but specifically, you need to find a specific topic. You need to find like a subsection of a topic, of a subsection, of a discipline, and just drill down to the point where philosophy becomes a sterile game. And that's philosophy. Imagine what it's like in STEM. I've heard this from other people who pursued grad degrees. This drives a lot of people out of grad school. And then there are a lot of people, by the time they get to the end of grad school, they don't want to continue, myself included. Because you realize the people that really excel in academia in our world, the one you and I are living in right now, turns people into monomaniacal, almost inhuman things. Just sitting around trying to have conversations and just shoot the shit and relax, unwind. Let's talk about something other than philosophy. They couldn't. These other students. And they had abhorrently low levels of interpersonal skills. I'm not going to throw around any mental pathologies, mental conditions, but some of you are probably thinking of a few that seem to apply to this. When you get to the higher levels of academia, they seem to be trying to turn you into something that most of us don't want to be. You want to have people skills. You want to be a people person, don't you? That's the main thing that drove me away. I didn't want to continue on to the PhD because I didn't want to be surrounded by people. In something like philosophy, and you've got people reducing philosophy to these cold, sterile little games, subsections within subsections of the discourse, to the exclusion of looking anywhere else. Interdisciplinary studies is like a dirty term, a dirty concept. It's not acceptable. Frank Herbert would be shocked. Because again, in the world of DUNE, interdisciplinary, interconnected thinking is the norm. Yeah, James, you're all hyper-focused on academia. I just saw a guy wearing a pink tie and a blue shirt and a gray suit with a beard, and I think it was a Scottish accent, just hammering Jordan Peterson. This clip is going around. It's like he had too much caffeine, too much juice of Safu, not. He's just hammering Jordan Peterson. He's just trying to pick apart this idea. Oh, what do you mean you gotta clean your room? People, there's bigger problems in the world that have to be solved, and you're telling people they have to clean their rooms. It doesn't make any sense. And one of the things he said to Jordan Peterson, okay, Jordan, you're so focused on academia and professors and universities, don't you understand that doesn't matter to most people? You know, there's a whole world outside there. I wish Jordan had said what I always say to people when they say that. You know, this guy that was my very close friend for a long time, but I had to stop talking to him because he's gone completely nuts. He's been reduced to a sterile kind of machine working route tasks at the post office. He'd always say that to me. I don't fucking care, okay? You're always going on about university and professors. It doesn't fucking matter, okay? It's not the real world. It's not the Dumb. Listen. And I wish Jordan Peterson had said this to this hyper Scottish guy or whatever he was. What happens in academia informs politics. People with grad degrees end up going into politics, into the civil service, and even just writing books and various other things. God, even tweets now have an effect that indirectly or directly affect politics, which affects your lives, everybody's lives. And it's ironic that I have to point this out, because there's an interconnectedness across fields, across various aspects of our society, across, let's call them factions. In the world of DUNE, Paul Atreides has been trained as a Bene Gesserit by his mother, secretly trained as a Mentat. This wasn't mentioned in the movie. It's not a spoiler because the time has passed for Denis Villeneuve to mention that, but he's trained as a fighter. He can fly an ornithopter. He's trained in many things. And more importantly, the interconnectedness between those things inform his actions and his ability to go on to, okay, I'll avoid this spoiler for people who haven't read the books, to go on to do the big thing, you know, don't you know? And same with all the other major characters. They see the interconnectedness between economics and politics, technologies, on and on. There are people in our society that see this interconnectedness, and as far as I can tell, a lot of them are cunning and secretive about it and pretend like they don't see the intersection of, say, economics and, say, science. How they can line their own pockets on the basis of appealing to certain technicians. In the philosophy of technology, we refer collectively to all of these eggheads that are in STEM and devoted to their little subsections as technicians. You want to tell me technicians aren't having a profound effect on our society right now? They don't seem to see or care about the human toll, mental health problems, or the effect on the economy. They don't seem to see or care. Basically, they've been turned into artificial intelligence. I often said that at university, especially in my grad degree. Wow, I'm writing my thesis. Ultimately, I wrote my thesis on artificial intelligence. Is it possible to have strong AI that is a artificial intelligence that for all intents and purposes seems to be human? And I argue that it is. But funnily enough, I was constantly thinking, and a lot of these other students around me are great examples of artificial intelligence too. They're really, really smart, but at one tiny little thing. And they've got no people skills. People being trained to have tunnel vision being seen as some kind of virtue. It's outside of academia. Those of us who can connect up the dots from disparate fields, from various interests, across different factions, can see the interplay of different agendas, and can see how certain dark forces, dark ideologies, dark interests are at play, who don't suffer from tunnel vision. What do they call us? Say it with me. Conspiracy theorists. So you see how that's manifesting outside of academia. when there's literally a derogatory term for being able to see the gestalt, the whole picture, the bigger picture, or at least many different things interconnected within the bigger picture. When there's a derogatory term and it's just considered to be abhorrent, unacceptable, to see the reality of conspiracies, should they exist, and of course they do. How bizarre, this reality that we're living in right now. This world that we're living in, where you're a good person if only you have tunnel vision. This even applies to my so-called dying channel here on YouTube. A friend asked, "Hey Christian, if you're listening, how you doing, buddy? How's your channel coming?" He asked me, what advice do you have for somebody starting up a channel? And I said, unfortunately, consistency. If you don't do the exact same kind of format and the exact general kind of topics and stuff over and over and over, it'll hurt you. It's definitely hurt me, but this is understood. Anybody who's an aspiring creator on YouTube, if you've gone to the trouble of looking into people who teach about how to succeed on YouTube, they all agree, consistency. You basically have to have a kind of tunnel vision, in addition to consistency of when you post and all that. But for me, I'm a really creative person. Oh, thanks to DUNE, I guess. I guess DUNE screwed me over. Because it made me a person that wants to talk about a lot of different things and join up a lot of different dots and do diverse stuff and be creative and, oh, God forbid. So it's manifesting in our society in different ways, not just in academia, this devotion to tunnel vision, and it's poison. I hope people read DUNE, and I hope we start moving away from that poisonous monomaniacal, put up your blinders, that's what you want to do. It's horrible. Obviously, there's always outliers. But those outliers that do have diverse interests, where they do delve deeper into those diverse interests and can see interconnections, they're outliers, they're abhorrent. They're not actually welcome in our schools at the grad level anymore. That's terrifying. Now, there are people in power who can use these eggheads, these technicians, these people who are basically no longer humans, they're artificial intelligences. They can use their advice, their prognostications, they can appeal to the science to do horrible things and line their pockets all the while. Anyways, I don't go too much into that, right? Okay? I probably shouldn't have said most of that. Let human beings listen to me right now. Read between the lines. Put your hand in the box. Put your hand in the box. I want to see if you're a human being. Because there's another kind of AI, the kind of AI that Frank Herbert explicitly, not just in the DUNE books, specifically in the world before that leads up to his DUNE books, and in other books that Frank Herbert wrote, the artificial intelligence that most of us think about, and other science fiction writers and movies have dealt with, is the artificial intelligence that goes on to enslave us or commit atrocities. Because at the end of the day, even though I argued for the possibility of strong AI, we already have weak AI. Weak AI is listening to this video right now and trying to decide whether or not they should put a strike on this video for talking about something that I shouldn't be talking about. We've had weak AI for quite some time. Actually, the YouTube algorithm is getting kind of close to strong AI, and it's terrifying because it makes so many mistakes. It puts strikes on videos where I mention a certain Italian food item, along with a certain social class with a lot of money and a lot of power. Anyways, Frank Herbert was always leery, going right back to the 60s. He was leery of this idea of putting too much power and too much faith and confidence in artificial intelligence. Atrocities will result. It's a recurring theme in Frank Herbert's writing. That's why we have mentats, the human quote-unquote computers, in the DUNE books. They're not artificial intelligence. They're real intelligence. They replaced the artificial intelligence that will never have true humanity, morality. You hear about autonomous cars, self-driven cars, and some of the accidents that have happened. There's plenty of accidents with the AI here on YouTube. Anyways, Frank Herbert, very prescient in seeing all this. And we should be worried because we're on that path beset. We are on the path beset towards horrors and nightmares being committed by AI. I mean, even Elon Musk knows about this. This has almost become a platitude to talk about that. What Frank Herbert didn't see was turning people into something less than humans. Making people, dumbing people down to the point where they behave like weak AI. Not like human computers, but like programs, single-purpose applications. Anyways, I'm going to talk about some other stuff, but I just hope and pray that the success of Dune, the continued success of Denis Villeneuve's wonderful adaptation of Dune, will lead people to read the book and become more diverse thinkers. Hopefully 5 or 10 years from now, or even sooner, we'll see many more people fencing. Watching some fencing videos on YouTube, well, kind of makes me want to get back into it if only my knees weren't busted. Anyways, I wanted to go ahead and say, I didn't like the soundtrack. I love Hans Zimmer. I've loved, God, how many of his soundtracks I would just put on and listen to while I'm studying and writing essays or exercising. Gladiator soundtrack, wow. Okay. Inception. I was about to say Tenet, but that wasn't Hans Zimmer. What's the other one that's so good? Oh, Interstellar. How could I forget my beloved Interstellar? Oh, I loves it. Oh. Oh, just to go back to it. See, any grad student who isn't in physics will watch that movie and say, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know what the fuck is going on. It's stupid. Ugh. It's ridiculous. Actually, that's not even true. Even students in physics will watch Interstellar and not get it. Because there's such a humanistic element to it. Grad students don't get much, okay? And it's like they're being forced to be dumbed down like that anyways. I don't want to keep harping on it. Hans Zimmer, so many of his soundtracks, in fact, I think every soundtrack that he's ever done, I should say score. I'm just going to use the word score and soundtrack interchangeably. The media does, even though that's not quite correct. But any score, any movie that he's done, there's always been at least one song that I just want to listen to over and over again. I mean, going way back to that movie script written by Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino's first movie that he wrote, but he didn't direct. True Romance, Christian Slater, Gary Oldman, Patricia Arquette, Roseanne Arquette. Patricia Arquette? One of the Arquettes. Anyways. Dennis Hopper, Christopher Walken, Chris Penn. What a fucking amazing movie. And that song, You're So Cool by Hans Zimmer. Oh my God, it's so good. I was so enthusiastic. I was like, oh yes, Denis getting Hans Zimmer. And then some weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I found that the record label that's putting out that score soundtrack has all the songs up. It's legit. It's, no copyright problems. You can go listen to it. It's on the record label's channel here on YouTube. And I listened to the songs and I'm like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? This is not good. Some of you may know about the concept of Orientalism. This is a derogatory term, okay? Hey, YouTube AI, I'm not using it to use it. I'm using it to criticize it, okay? Calm down. Orientalism, going back to the colonial days, was just this romantic kind of notion about everything in the East, including the Middle East. And you see it in, romanticist poetry and literature and music and art. Oh, it's Oriental, don't you know? Oh yes, the style is Oriental. What the fuck does that mean? Because they just conflated the Middle East and everything East as just this whole dumbed down kind of aesthetic thing. Romantic take on it. Fantastical, imaginative take on everything in the East as Orientalism. And there's these female vocals in Dune, in Hans Zimmer's score for Dune, that every time I hear it, it's like, oh my God, that sounds like Orientalism, kinda, I don't want to say generic, but like a facile take on, well, it's set in the desert, so you gotta have this stuff that kind of sounds like deserty. I don't know if anybody even knows what the hell I'm talking about. When you... That's one thing. And the other thing that struck me, and I saw Hans Zimmer saying this in an interview, and I know he's just saying this to appeal to a certain group of people that we need to. Any filmmaker or musician or artist that wants to be successful has to appeal to the hyper-progressivist woke crew. Those people being informed by those monomaniacal people from the academia who pretend to have human considerations, but I don't think that they really are in touch with humanity. Those people who pretend, in the first part of this rant, I was going on about they make you hyper-focused and they take away all the human elements. But no, I did a bachelor's in business and they made us take ethics. Yeah, I know. They're paying lip service. They really are. And when you become hyper-focused at the grad level, you find people pretending to be humans, pretending. And the offshoot of that is really hackneyed, facile, road to hell paved with good intentions, social engineering, and progressivist attitudes that lead to policies that are usually counterproductive. Talk to Thomas Sowell. Anyways, But it's part of our society now. And if you want to be a successful movie director, musician, whatever, you have to at least pay lip service. And I saw this interview where Hans Zimmer says, well, obviously the most powerful people, the whole story is about the women are the most powerful. Dude, you know that's not true, Hans. I know you read the book. Arguably the Bene Gesserit are the most powerful, okay, but it's not women at large. That's like a Justin Trudeau thing to say. Anyways. The thing about the power of the Bene Gesserit, and they are powerful, very powerful, with their eugenics. It's really at the heart of the story is eugenics, but anyways. And using religion to manipulate people and using the voice and the psychology, it's amazing, all this stuff. But it's subtle stuff. They're subtly powerful. They're not, I can't even, oh my God, every time I heard that in the movie, I'm like, oh, stop, I don't want, it's like nails on a chalkboard, these women baying, these women like screaming and baying and barking, it's so fucking terrible. I know, and he chose to do that because, well, according to this interview, because, oh, the women are so important and they're the most powerful. So your solution to incorporating that into the score is to have powerful voices that are like nails on a chalkboard? That's not what the Bene Gesserit are, so that's not analogous. It doesn't line up. There are times when the female vocals are more subtle and perhaps more suitable, but then I still am bothered by it because it's kind of this Orientalist thing. It kind of sounds like some almost like Arabic chanting. Look, this is 10,000 years in the future on other planets in this crazily different kind of reality. Evoking Orientalism, something from our past that is, I'm going to go ahead and say it, problematic. It just didn't work. And I know I'm not the only person who feels this way. And then on the other hand, you've got the more incidental stuff, just like any Hans Zimmer soundtrack, any good soundtrack. There's the more incidental music that's just supposed to be kind of in the background. And listening to that, it's like almost amelodic and arrhythmic, and I just don't really enjoy it. But the one scene, and I don't know if Hans Zimmer had anything to do with this, weird, Ben Shapiro called it Viking throat singing. Salusis Secundus. Whoa, that scene has become a meme. It's huge. This is sorry, I gotta practice. But you know immediately, if you've already seen the movie, you know the scene that I'm talking about. This isn't a spoiler or anything. It's just this brief little clip, flash to the Emperor's prison planet. And there's this crazy blood sacrifice. This is a fucking crazy scene, and it's become a big meme on YouTube and elsewhere. Dune, in all of its instantiations, including with David Lynch, has been a wellspring of memes. The memes must flow. Sorry, I gotta practice that. So I was let down by Hans Zimmer's soundtrack, but the movie itself is so good that doesn't matter. It didn't ruin the movie. Denis Villeneuve is so fucking talented. And speaking of the interconnectedness, the importance of interconnectedness and diversity, real diversity of thought, not the woke progressivist idea of diversity that's been dumbed down to skin color and what you like to do with your genitals, but actual diversity of thought and interconnectedness and kind of cooperation. That's kind of an aspect of The Arrival, a Denis Villeneuve movie that, plays off of really old, golden era sci-fi concepts, about militarism and things like that. Anyways, I'm going off on a huge rant, but I hope some of you enjoyed it, and I could talk about so much more, like the voice. Oh, I like how Denis Villeneuve did the Bene Gesserit voice, but you realize from reading the book that's not really what it's supposed to be, but anyways. Oh, and the mentats. I wasn't a big fan of the brutalist architecture. That's Denis Villeneuve once again bringing influences from his Montreal, which is where I did my master's degree, so I don't like to see anything that evokes Montreal. I just hate it. And he did that way too much in Blade Runner 2049, but whatever, anyways. It's a personal issue, I guess. A lot of people love that brutalist architecture. One of these days I'll do a video talking about what a scam brutalist architecture is. It's part and parcel with communism, socialism, and politicians pretending to serve the people and act in the people's best interest, but really just lining their own pockets, skimming. And anyways, definitely part of Montreal. Anyways, okay, I digress. I've been up all night. I'm tired. I've been eating a lot of garlic because I was feeling kind of sick because the heat wasn't running in my apartment for a while. But then I remembered, oh yeah, garlic makes me sick to my stomach, so Yeah, I didn't sleep last night, so this is a ranting thing, but I gotta tell you, I loved Dune, okay? And I'm really enthusiastic and hopeful that it's gonna have an effect on our society. We'll see. Do you agree? You take issue with anything that I said? Please read the book, but whatever. Okay. You want to help me out with a few bucks? I'd really appreciate it. I'd really appreciate it. Check out the links on the screen right about now and in the description below. Otherwise, like, share, comments, and all that good stuff, and I'll talk to you again real soon, hopefully, unless the AI takes me down, which it might. Anyways, whatever. Bye-bye.